SIM swaps are becoming ever more prevalent in crypto. How can we protect our cryptocurrency if we don't know if and when this could happen? Well, in this video, we dive into what SIM swaps are and how you can avoid them. So a SIM swap occurs when a hacker hijacks a phone number, thereby gaining access to accounts that depend on a phone number for authentication and account recovery. Now, the FBI released a statement in 2022, and they estimated that $68 million was lost due to SIM swaps in the US alone. And that was just in the year 2021. Before this has become even worse. However, this has escalated since then, as the $68 million loss in 2021 represents an over 400% increase in recorded losses when compared to 3 years earlier, where losses totaled only $12 million. We should really be worried about SIM swaps right now, because this number is probably a lot higher in 2023, especially after the information I'm going to give you now. So how does this affect our cryptocurrencies and assets on the blockchain? A successful breach of an investor's SIM card can allow the hacker to gain access to users' accounts on centralized exchanges and other financial accounts that are protected by 2FA SMS verification or other account recovery methods that use the victim's phone number. Another way that they can gain access to your crypto or find ways to scam people in general are through hacking social media profiles. SIM swap hackers can also intercept the user's social profiles using the same exact strategy as above. These links usually promise a giveaway, leading users to platforms that request for users to connect their wallet and sign a transaction. This allows the hacker to interact with the user's wallet and drain the victim's wallets. Remember that if you don't actually sign the transaction, there is no way for that crypto to be sent to that other person. So how exactly does a SIM swap work, and why should we be worried? For a successful SIM swap attack, the hacker simply needs to convince the telecommunications service provider that they own the victim's SIM card and wish to port the SIM card's communication to another SIM card that is provided by them. The service provider only requests some personal information from the hacker to execute the SIM swap. If the hacker is able to provide the requested personal information of the victim, the service provider proceeds to port the number as requested. Now, some of the most popular information here includes the client's maiden name, work history, birth information, and family data. Now, all the pieces that were mentioned here can easily be found on social media platforms such as Facebook, maybe Twitter, etc. Hackers can obtain this information from social media, stolen files, and data extraction techniques that utilize malicious mail or applications that install malware on the victim's device and scan for data from the clipboard and other means. One of the first pieces of advice that is given to new users of crypto wallets and cold wallets is to never store your private keys in a clipboard. This is because, as was just mentioned, there can be malware that will look into your clipboard. If they find that, they'll use your private keys to access your funds, and then there's no way going back from that. Vulnerable accounts in this case include any user profile protected by security methods based on the SIM card. And here we dive into some of the most popular examples that are coming from the crypto space right now with SIM swaps. This one was pretty huge, in which Vitalik's Twitter account was hacked, which led him to actually leave Twitter for Farcaster. So the strategy that the SIM swap hackers employed when they got in on September 9th was to claim a free NFT. The link, which directed to a malicious website, promised investors a claim on a commemorative NFT issued in partnership with ConsenSys, the MetaMask wallet development team. And for those of you who don't know the background of ConsenSys, their founder, Joe Lubin, was actually one of the co-founders of Ethereum. He gave Vitalik the money needed in order to get it started up. Connected wallets were drained of their valuable crypto assets, included NFTs and other fungible tokens, and crypto investigator Zach XBT reports over 690,000 were stolen in assets, and over 70% of these were actually NFTs. Here we can see the wallet that's draining, and again, we have it here, 520,000 US dollars. So another one that's been popular is Friendtech. Friendtech has been the subject of repeated SIM swap attacks in the early weeks of October 2023. We can see here Froggy.eth got SIM swapped for 20 plus ETH, and his advice was to set a pin on your SIM even if you don't think you need to. If your provider allows this, I definitely recommend it. As tracked and reported again by Zach XBT, the SIM swap hacker netted assets in excess of 385,000 USD in stolen crypto assets. And if you're interested in finding this out, I'd highly recommend you to follow Zach XBT to get more info about how the blockchain works in tracking these addresses. Lastly, we have the case of Michael Turpin. Aged just 15 at the time, Ellis Pinksley SIM swapped Michael Turpin and stole over $23 million worth of crypto assets. The event, which occurred in 2018, would result in a slew of lawsuits. Recorded history of the hack reports that the teenager was just a front to an even bigger social engineering hacking gang that used underage individuals and telecommunication company staff to gather key information about their target. Pinksley had developed a Python application that scrapped social networks in search of contact details of telecommunication workers. So enough about these examples and types of SIM swaps that we have out there. How can we actually avoid it? The first piece of advice is to use authenticator applications and avoid SIM card-based authentication. Due to the prevalence of SIM swap hacks, selecting mobile numbers as medium for receiving authentication codes could expose the user to losses in case their SIMs get swapped. And it mentions here too that emails could suffer the same fate as well, so be careful when you're using both email and mobile numbers. Account authentication means that your security is attached to your device and not your SIM card. So here we want our security to be backed behind our mobile device and not behind the card that's attached to our mobile device. Next, we have MFA, or multi-factor authentication, where supported. So this is where users are required to enter additional information on top of their password. In addition to your password, consider adding one or more authentication processes, including biometrics. Consider combining your password with an application-based authentication method and an inherent authentication method like fingerprint scans as well. Although it seems a bit extreme, if you're protecting your wealth and your value, you can't really put a price on that protection and security, can you? One thing that I use that many exchange now accepts is called a YubiKey. So this YubiKey makes me physically be present in order to sign into my account. In a way, my password doesn't even matter, because if I'm not there to click this button, I can't actually access my account and my information and make any transactions at all. It's really helped my peace of mind that nobody can access my account unless they're physically here in my room on my device and press this button. But do remember that if you're holding your crypto on exchanges, there's a chance that those exchanges could go bankrupt, like Celsius, Voyager, etc. The next piece of advice is to avoid using your phone number as a sign-in and recovery method. It kind of contradicts what it said before, but here it says it is advised to opt for the email option. So what it's saying here is that if you have to choose between the two, choose email over SIM. Providing a mobile number attaches the account to your phone number and makes it an easy target for SIM swap hackers. Avoid using your mobile number as the recovery method for the same reason. Lastly, don't dox yourself. Users who dox themselves reveal key information and proof of ownership of the accounts they are laying a claim on. Any accessible personal information makes one more vulnerable to SIM swap hackers. When you finally dox yourself and prove ownership of a cryptocurrency address, smart contract, or project, this makes you more subject of hack attempts. This exceeds the premise of SIM swaps and extends to even more advanced attacks. And to hit this point home, you really shouldn't be sharing your crypto wallet address with anyone. Even if you win a giveaway, whatever it is, you should find a way to keep this address to yourself. So lastly, what do you do if you fall victim to a SIM swap attack? I'd say before anything else, don't panic, relax, and follow these steps. Then you want to confirm that your SIM has actually been swapped. You can do this because you'll be unable to make calls, send messages, or receive any of the two. Then you want to salvage your assets by moving your crypto from exchanges to a cold wallet, and then change the authentication details of unaffected accounts. Also, be sure to take your money off hot wallets such as MetaMask, Phantom, and others. Next, you want to contact the service provider of your SIM card to disconnect your line. And when it's all said and done and the dust settles, we need to analyze the situation and undertake precautionary measures on how to avoid repeating this in the future. As we mentioned before, Vitalik went as far as getting off Twitter completely in order to try other social media networks that are decentralized. If this is something you want to do or you want to take drastic measures, it's completely up to you, and you should be protecting yourself financially and mentally. And if there were any stolen funds, which I can really sympathize with because I was victim of an exchange going bankrupt, then we want to see if there are any means of recovering these funds in the future. One thing it mentions here real quick is that lawsuits are possible, but most people don't have access to this. You could also reach out to people like ZachXBT or other crypto sleuths who can try to find out where this money's going. So stay safe, protect your assets, and make sure to take precautionary steps in order to protect yourself and your funds in the future.